So my name is Poku. I'm born in Africa, in a special place called Ghana. And I do remember growing up as a child, how me and my friends, we used to play together and do all sorts of things, but it was tough. And I do remember how my friend Kweku, as we used to call him, he used to take apart any electrical gadget that he laid his hands on just to put it back together. And another friend called Nana, and his interest was to make models out of everything that he saw, out of tin cans. Now that was special, but even then I used to wonder, and I still wonder at times, where would some of these guys be at the moment? Or should I say, what could they have created for society if they had the opportunity to nurture their talent at that early stage? So in many ways, the idea of lack of opportunity is something that used to bother me even as a young man. But fast forward to my 27th birthday, when I had the opportunity to move to the UK, the land of opportunities, as a lot of people will see it, and certainly I did see it. So very exciting times, because the UK does have great education services, great enterprise infrastructures, and certainly just great better connector systems as a whole. So imagine my surprise then when I first found out that it's actually more difficult here to move from stacking shelves in a supermarket to becoming a CEO than it would be in most developed countries, and certainly other developing countries, according to the OECD. Or imagine my surprise to find out that more than a quarter of all young people and children living in Bristol are recorded to be living in poverty, according to the Office for National Statistics. Now, I'm not here to tell you morbid stories, because we all do also know that through society, whether it's science or whether it's social studies, it does tell us that irrespective of our culture, our ethnicity, our race, we as human beings do have more in common than we do have apart. And also history does tell us that irrespective of our background, we actually do have a talent or skill that, if given the opportunity to nurture or in a way advance, the platform that is, to advance it, we do add something to society. So the question then becomes, what will happen to, for example, all these children in Bristol, so to speak, who are living under the poverty lines 10, 20 years from now, if society continues to marginalize them? Or what can happen if society were to take a bit more of a proactive approach and engage them with their aspirations? More importantly, what can happen if me and you, we were to look at leveling the playing fields for children and young people so that they can further their aspirations? So these were some of the questions that used to go through my head when I decided to set up the youth social enterprise called Babasa. Now, Babasa, it is a heavy word, but all that it is a concept, really. The concept of ordinary people coming together to act as a support bridge for others who wouldn't otherwise have the opportunity, or act as a support bridge for others to further their aspirations. Babasa at the moment supports hundreds of young people, mostly from inner city Bristol, to do exactly that, which is furthering their aspirations. But I'm not here to talk about Babasa as an entity. I'm here to talk about attitudes. And in my case at the moment, it will be 3 defining attitudes that I feel has helped us to evolve a culture of collaborations, a culture of enterprise, and a culture of open innovations in the voluntary sector. So attitude 1 is as simple as love all. And what I mean by that is striving, all of us, to love all persons as we would love ourselves. And that could be the person to your left, or it could be the person to your right. It could be me, hopefully, or certainly it could be all the people that we do know are disaffected in our societies one way or the other. Now, you may say, wait, we're talking about innovations. What has it got to do with love? I do understand that. But you see, innovations, as Mike rightly put it, is nothing more than a more effective idea, a product or a process that addresses a need. There's no point if it doesn't address a need. And what I find is love that helps us to better understand the needs of society. And it is love that also helps us to better, or if I'm to rephrase that, it is love that helps us to evoke the passion within us, the belief, the care, the trust, and certainly the fellowship for us to realize any brilliant idea. And I, for one, know that if it wasn't for that, no success at all that has been attributed to Babasa thus far would have been possible, because it is love and belief in the young people that we do engage that helps them to further on. So attitude number 2, I see it as learning by doing. And that takes me back to when I first conceived the concept of Babasa. Now, if I'm to retrace my thoughts back, I know that I was working in a call center part-time. I was trying to pay for an MSc as an international student, and I was further down the line figured out that I was going to have a kid. But that didn't necessarily stop me from pressing on with my ideas. And that's because I do believe that no child in a wealthy state such as the UK and other states should be living under poverty, irrespective of who they are. So I remember this point in time where I had to call the program director at the time of Colston Hall, which is a premier venue in Bristol, and I was so enthusiastic telling him about my ideas and how we can bring about some change in Bristol. But of course, he listened to my ideas and he did advise me, which would have been the right advice, looking back, saying that actually there are more cost-effective venues where I can launch this concept I'm talking about. But at the time, let's just say that I had no intentions of changing my plans. Now, he also tried to persuade me from not going ahead with it, but he rather figured out that I rather had a proposition for him, which was that if he was to consider a few things, I would rather let him share in the glory of my ideas then. And as it were, the proposition that I had for him was for him to give me a free venue, and also for him to offer me some PR resources to further the idea of having a lunch event at the Colston Hall. Of course, it sounds ridiculous from the start, but let's just say that we were able to launch the event there with no budget at all and with no money in the pocket at all. Now, the real work, as it was, followed thereafter, whether that was understanding the complexities or the complex factors that affected young people in the areas that we were thinking of serving, or the communities for that matter, whether it was trying to figure out how to motivate a team over a course of time, especially if you don't have any money to pay them, whether it was managing partnerships or expectations for that matter, or whether it was just understanding the city's politics and power dynamics. Now, these were all really, really difficult things to do, and all time-consuming and difficult, and I do appreciate that, but no degree, I don't think, will be able to give you such insight or such experience. So what I do normally tell, or should I say to young people that we do engage, as well as our staff and anybody that I do engage over a bottle of wine, because I do love my wine, is that if you do have an idea, if you do have a brilliant idea that you think is brilliant and you think that it will add value to society in any way, shape or form, just do it. Don't let the fear of failure hold you back, and certainly don't deprive the world of brilliant ideas, because we all do need it. And obviously the questions may come, which is, well, I am in full-time education, or I am full-time employed, so I can't do it even though it's brilliant ideas. The questions may also come that I am too young at times or too old, but don't let that stop you, because the least that can happen, again, I think it was Mike or one of the speakers that said it, is that you will learn from it. And that's what we did with Babasa. So I'll move on to attitude number 3, which I just simply put it as ask and share. And with ask and share, it's interesting because we often do tell our kids and children this about, oh, you have to share, or oh, you have to ask, but hardly do we do it in our adult life. Now with ask and share, another thing that will be worth saying is that as adults, we often, as I find, tend to underestimate the power that exists in our own networks, and inherently the knowledge and wisdom that comes with it. And if I'm to try and cut what I'm trying to say in short, I will say that we all, irrespective of whether we are a young person, adults, disadvantaged or not disadvantaged, we need to embrace our vulnerabilities, and we need to ask if we do not know, and be more willing to share if we do know. And I say this because that's the very bedrock of civilization itself, and certainly for collaborations. There's no healthy collaborations without asking and sharing. And the other is with open innovations as such. So that's something that I do advocate, and I do challenge myself, as well as challenging the young people that we do engage with, and our staff, to embed it as a practice at all times. So in many ways, I am proud of what we've been able to achieve at Babasa, supporting hundreds of young people thus far. And whether it's, I just saw one of our young people here today, which I didn't know that he was coming. I don't know how he got here. But let's just say that whether that was supporting, let's say Mo, who was on his last track to be kicked out of school, to him developing with some Americans the first 3D fashion toolkit to be launched while studying at the moment at the City University. Or whether that's Zainab, who we first met some few years ago when she was at the supplementary school provision, but now I'm studying at Cardiff University in economics, and also running a small enterprise on the side. Or whether that was Amina, who is a young carer with aspirations of becoming a biomedics that we've been able to find a mentor for, as well as securing some work experience within that field for. So I am proud, but I'm not disillusioned to think that Babasa is this great thing that's changing, significantly changing the balance of inequalities in in this world that we live in. So moving on then to the more grand and more perhaps controversial scheme of things. Now, this is what I will say. I do think that in many ways, the concept of, it's not even a concept, but I will say innovations and IT has been synonymous for far too long. And apologies to all the IT people here. I also do think that we as a people, we need to realize, not that we don't, or we shouldn't forget, I think that's the better word, that technology really is a means for us to achieve an end, and it's not the end in itself. So if we are to have any luck or any chance of rebalancing a world where 1% of the population own as much as 50% of the population, if we are to have any chance of rebalancing the access of opportunities to young people, whether it's here in Bristol, in Africa, or any part of the world, then we do need to rethink the concept, or should I say the model of First and foremost, I will say charity, which in my view, quite controversial, but it does perpetuate the cycle of dependency and victimization. We also need to rethink, in my view, the level of research, or should I say the investment into research and the investment into resources in the voluntary sector, if we are to attract or at least compete with the great minds, for great minds, that is, in IT, in business, in finance, in science, for social innovations. If we are also to rethink, I think, from my personal point of view, our personal attitudes, that's you and me, and our perceptions of people disadvantaged by their circumstances that they don't have control over, and more importantly, their potential and what they can offer to society. And these are some things that we can do, even more so because we are a better connected society at the moment. So what I will say, if time allows me, and I think I still do have time, is I do give you actually the permission to bring out your phones. And if you are, especially if you are connected to Twitter, and I was going to ask the media man to change it to the next slide, which is asking you a question about your guiding principles, your values, your practices that has helped to shape you as a person as well as your aspirations to date. What could they be? If you can share it with me, I can promise you that I'll be able to share it with at least hundreds of young people who are keen to tap into this knowledge, because I do believe that we do have quite a mind filled of people, or should I say intellects, here today. And we do have, on the other side as well, quite a lot of young people who aren't as privileged to tap into such knowledge and such, should I say, skill sets. So please share it with me now, and if you have your phones. And the question is there. And the Twitter handle that you do share it with is @BYEPUK. If you can only hashtag yes you can, then I can promise you that we will be able to retweet it over the course of a month at least for young people to take note of. So my name is Poku, and thank you very much for your time.